In this Diablo 2 Resurrected Build Guide, I'll be covering the Frenzy Barbarian. This is a beginner build that will comfortably get you through normal, which is the first difficulty of Diablo 2 Resurrected. If you're looking for a beginner barbarian build and aren't sure where to begin, then this Diablo 2 guide is for you. The Frenzy Barb uses two maces at the same time to perform quick, powerful attacks to effectively get rid of individual targets. You'll be using Double Swing and Frenzy as your main skills, and Mace Mastery to further increase your damage and attack rating. The Barbarian is widely considered to be one of the most difficult classes to start Diablo 2 Resurrected with. This is due to its limited AoE options during early game, its lack of ranged attacks, and the item dependency to remain effective during endgame. While this is true to a certain extent, you can still play the Barbarian effectively on your first Diablo 2 Resurrected run, as long as you know where to focus your efforts. It's important to note that this build will only remain viable through the first difficulty, Normal, and up to around level 40 or so. You can still run through Nightmare difficulty if you insist, but I wouldn't recommend it as you'll find much better options at this point in the game. If you're a new player, I strongly recommend you save the respec that you get from completing the first quest, Den of Evil. If you do, you'll be able to talk to Akara and respec your character into a different build once you reach Nightmare difficulty. Most builds in Diablo 2 Resurrected have a stat distribution that focuses on assigning enough points into strength to meet equipment requirements, enough dexterity to reach max block chance, and then assigning everything else into vitality to gain as much life as possible. And while this is true for most builds, it can be confusing to decide when you should assign these attribute points. Strength is a requirement for most equipment pieces of the game. During your first playthrough, you'll want to have enough points to slot the best equipment for each act. This is 35 strength in Act 1, 45 strength in Act 2, and 60 strength for the remaining 3 acts. From here, you should only assign points into strength if you find an item that is worth the investment. If not, just assign the points into vitality. For most builds, dexterity is important to increase block chance when using a shield, but since you won't be using one, this shouldn't be a thing to consider. Dexterity is also important for melee builds as it affects attack rating, which is essentially your chance to hit enemies. You should spend 15 points here to reach 35 dexterity. This will be enough for attack rating, as well as to be able to equip the flail, which will be our main weapon. All remaining points should be spent in vitality. Increasing vitality will greatly increase your health pool, which is essential to stay alive against large groups of enemies. Vitality also increases your stamina, allowing you to run much further without needing to rest. This build uses very little mana, so you won't need to assign any points into energy. As a Frenzy Barb, you'll be focusing on the combat skills and combat masteries. You'll use the following skills when playing this Diablo 2 Resurrected Barbarian build. The Bash skill is a prerequisite for Double Swing, which will be one of our main skills. You can use it to defeat the more challenging enemies up to level 6 when you unlock Double Swing. The Barbarian is the only class that can wield 2 weapons at the same time, one in each hand, with the exception of the assassins using kataras. Being able to use 2 weapons at the same time not only increases damage, but also allows you to combine powerful weapon and runeword effects that other classes can't, so Double Swing is a must. The Double Swing skill allows you to take full advantage of this by performing 2 quick consecutive attacks, one with each weapon, with increased attack rating. This skill costs 2 mana, which isn't much but adds up very quickly as you'll be constantly spamming to defeat enemies. Leveling up this skill will reduce its mana cost, and at level 9 the mana cost will be reduced to 0, allowing you to freely spam it without having to worry. You should map this as your default attack as soon as you unlock it. The Leap skill allows you to jump to the desired location, dealing knockback damage to all enemies upon landing. While not very useful for combat, this skill is great to navigate the map, allowing you to jump over jail bars, rivers, doors, and even enemies. You can use Leap to jump away from enemies when surrounded or to reach ranged enemies that are hiding behind melee ones. Leap is also a great tool to retrieve your body. You'll usually die surrounded by enemies, making it difficult to grab your body back. Just use Leap directly on top of your body and enemies will get pushed away when you land, allowing you to safely retrieve your corpse. Similar to Double Swing, Frenzy takes advantage of dual wielding to perform a powerful quick attack with both weapons. Each time you successfully hit an enemy, the Barbarian will get into a frenzied state, which will cause him to move and attack much faster than usual. This buff is applied to the character, allowing you to use it on other skills such as Double Swing or Leap. In general terms, Frenzy is superior to Double Swing and should be used as your main attack move, but its flat 3 mana cost, which remains the same no matter the level, will be a limitation at early stages of the game. For this reason, you can perform 1 or 2 attacks with Frenzy and then continue attacking with Double Swing, which has a 0 mana cost. When Frenzy's effect runs out, use it again to restore the buff and repeat. The Mace Mastery skill passively increases your mace's damage and attack rating, which I previously mentioned is your chance to hit enemies. In addition, it provides you a chance to deal a critical strike, which doubles your damage. The reason why you want to use maces is because they have a lot of variations and overall better stats during the beginning of the game, specifically the flail. In Diablo 2 Resurrected, these weapon types are considered maces, so if you happen to find a set or unique item of these weapon categories, then you can use it for this build. The increased stamina skill passively increases your stamina by 30%, which is great during the early stages of the game. Assigning 1 point in Iron Skin will passively increase your defense rating by a massive 30%. Since you'll be fighting up close, this will greatly increase your overall survivability. The increased speed skill passively increases your walk and run speed, which stacks with Frenzy's buff and any other equipment you might have, greatly increasing your overall speed. Elemental resistances are one of the most important stats in the game, and natural resistance passively increases all of them, making it one of the best barbarian skills. Since a good part of your resistances will come from your equipment, I'll only be assigning 1 point here, but if you're lacking resistances, don't hesitate to spend points here to compensate for that. For the skill distribution, you'll want to first focus on the double swing combat skill and then unlock and start using Frenzy as soon as you hit level 24. For combat masteries, you want to spend some points on Mace Mastery and assign 1 point into each other passive as soon as they are available. Here is a comprehensive list on how to assign skill points early on. Runes are a special type of socketed item that will not only provide unique properties, but they can also be combined with other runes to create what's called a rune word. Runewords can be formed by inserting runes in a specific order inside certain types of equipment. The item must be normal rarity, able to support the rune word, and it needs to have the same amount of sockets as runes are required. Note that some magical items have sockets on them, but even if you put the runes in the right order, the rune word will not be created and you'll essentially lose your runes, so be sure to use normal rarity items only. While runewords are often referred to as endgame equipment, some of them can be crafted very early in Diablo 2 Resurrected and should not be too hard to come by. If you're lacking a base, you can check with the merchants as they often sell socketed items, but make sure that they are normal in rarity. Runewords are the most reliable way to gear up your character while you advance through the game, so I strongly suggest that you take a look at the complete list on our wiki and periodically check the runes that you have and the runewords that you can craft. I've added a link in the description to the runewords page. Make sure you bookmark it as you'll be referring to it constantly throughout your playthrough. Runes can be farmed by doing Countess runs. The Countess is a super unique monster that can be found inside the Forgotten Tower in Act 1. Each time you kill her, she will always drop between 1 and 3 runes, and their level will depend on the difficulty setting. Elemental resistances are key when trying to survive in Diablo 2 Resurrected. Most enemies deal elemental damage, and having high resistances will mitigate a great percentage of this damage. For this reason, I strongly recommend that you focus on equipment pieces that provide plus resistances during the normal difficulty of the game. You can check your current resistances by opening the stat menu and looking at the bottom of the menu. Resistances cap at plus 75%, and ideally you want to max out all of them when you're reaching the end of normal difficulty. Make sure to periodically check your equipment and to balance them out and get them as high as possible. Since loot is random, you won't have control over the equipment that you can get during the early stages and even mid stages of the game, other than creating runewords. Having said that, there are some general guidelines on the stats that you should be looking for on items and to make sure that your character scales up with increasing difficulty. The first helmet is Nadir, which is a rune word created from the Nephin tier runes and can be equipped at level 13. This helmet provides a good amount of defense as well as plus 5 strength, allowing us to save some stats during early stages. The plus 2 mana per kill is also a great way to keep up your mana in between fights. The next helmet is the Lore rune word, which is made up of the Ort and Soul runes and is equipable at level 27. If you happen to come across a Soul rune, then you can use it to craft this helmet, which provides plus 1 to all skills as well as plus 30 lightning resistance. As previously mentioned, the Barbarian is the only class that can wield 2 weapons at the same time. For this reason, you won't be using a shield, but instead equip 1 mace in each hand. The best early on mace that you can find is the Flail, and you should try to make your runewords on one of these. You can shop for them at Farah and Lud Galen in Act 2. Since this build is made around the Mace Mastery, you can use any rare set or unique mace that you might find. Remember that clubs, maces, hammers, staves, scepters, and wands are all considered maces in Diablo 2 Resurrected. Another mace you can be on the lookout for is the Steel rune word, which is made up of the Tyr and El runes and is equipable at level 13. This is the easiest runeword weapon you can craft early on, as the runes are very easy to come by. Steel greatly increases our attack damage, attack rating, and attack speed, making it perfect for our build. It also provides plus 2 mana after each kill, allowing us to keep spamming double swing until we remove the mana cost. Another good weapon is the Malice runeword, which is made of Ith, El, and Eth runes and is equipable at level 15. This runeword greatly increases your damage and attack rating, as well as having a 100% chance to apply open wounds, which applies a damage over time debuff on enemies. The downside to this weapon is that you'll lose 5 hit points each time you attack. This can be managed by either drinking potions or by equipping something with Life Leech. When it comes to armor, you want to be on the lookout for the Stealth rune word, which is made up of Tal and Eth runes and is equipable at level 17. This is by far the best armor that you can have early on. It provides poison resistance and faster hit recovery, which allows you to recover control of your character sooner after each hit. A faster hit recovery is very important as it usually helps you avoid stun locks when surrounded by enemies. When it comes to the glove, you want to focus on defensive stats such as life and resistances. Attack rating and increased attack speed are also great mods. Make sure to swap your belt as soon as you reach Act 2 for the maximum amount of potions. Regarding stats, you want to focus on life and resistances. Some merchants might offer magical belts with a lot of life on them, which are a great option. You'll want to search for faster run-walk speed on your boots as well as resistances and life. Run and walk speed is important to quickly navigate through the map, so make sure to get it. You'll want to search for rings that provide life and resistances as well as attack rating. Similar to rings, you'll want to find an amulet that provides life, resistances, or attack rating. An amulet that provides plus combat skills or plus combat masteries can also be great for this build. You'll find many charms as you advance through the game. While having these in your inventory is great, they can easily occupy a lot of space, limiting the amount of loot you can pick up. Try to focus on plus life, plus resistances, and plus magic find, as these are the most important ones for your build. When it comes to Mercenaries, Act 2 Mercenaries are the best choice for all builds due to their paladin auras and the ability to equip polearm weapons. Being able to use polearms is very important because many powerful rune words can be created on them, providing various buffs or debuffing enemies. You can recruit this mercenary from Grease and Luke Ghislaine. When it comes to selecting an aura, you'll want to select the Prayer Mercenary found on normal difficulty. The Prayer aura provides heal regeneration, allowing you to survive longer without using potions. Once you reach Nightmare difficulty, you can hire a Holy Freeze aura mercenary, which slows enemies around you, providing great crowd control. You won't have a lot of spare equipment during the beginning of Diablo 2 Resurrected, but you can equip them with any extra equipment you have or buy him a polearm from a merchant. If you happen to have some spare runes, make sure to craft an Insight rune word on a polearm, as this weapon will greatly increase your mercenary's combat capabilities. Final tips. Doing a couple of Countess runs will give you a lot of runes that will not only be useful for this build, but for any other character that you might make. Make sure to save all runes that you find inside your stash. If you're having trouble finding an item to use to make your rune words on, make sure to periodically check on merchants as they usually have good bases. You can assign your double swing or frenzy attacks to the normal attack slot, allowing you to only swap between your complementary skills. You can attack from your current position by holding shift on PC. If you're using controller, this will not be an issue for you, however. The leap skill allows you to navigate through many obstacles like cell bars, rivers, and even tunnels of the maggot layer on Act 2, saving you a lot of time, so don't be afraid to use it. Barbarian performance heavily relies on its equipment, so don't hesitate to swap to a different mace and recraft your rune words if you feel you are lacking damage. If you happen to find a good unique or set item that you like, don't hesitate to swap it with your current gear. I excluded all unique and set items for this guide because there's no reliable way of acquiring them early on. This build uses very little mana, so I personally like to run my belt with 3 healing potion columns and 1 mana potion column, but you can also add antidote potions or thawing potions. Using these potions will not only cure their respective status effect, but also provide a plus 50 resistance to their corresponding elemental resistance. Stay tuned for more Diablo 2 build guides, and be sure to check out our Diablo 2 Resurrected wiki for more information about the game. What did you guys think of this build guide? What class are you going to be playing first in Diablo 2? Let us know in the comments below.